Just one more minute. I'm going to give everybody one more minute to log in. All right. Oh, can we put the slide back on the interpretation page? Thank you. Hello, welcome. Bienvenidos, everybody. Simultaneous interpretation is being provided. English speakers will need to select English as their language. Accessing Zoom from a computer, click the globe icon located at the bottom of the screen. Choose English. Accessing Zoom from a smartphone, click the three dots on the bottom right side of the screen. Choose language interpretation. Choose English. Press done on the top right side of the screen. Go ahead, Mike, and do the Spanish interpretation.
Buenas tardes, bienvenidos. Tenemos interpretación simultánea al español disponible. Los hispanohablantes deben de seleccionar su idioma. Entrando a Zoom por computadora, haga clic en el símbolo de globo terráqueo en la parte inferior de la pantalla. Seleccione español, apague el audio original para solo escuchar una sola voz. Entrando a Zoom por un teléfono inteligente, haga clic en los tres puntos encima de la palabra más en la parte inferior derecha de la pantalla. Seleccione interpretación, seleccione español, haga clic en Done o finalizar arriba y del lado derecho de la pantalla. Gracias.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the evening community meeting, Clean Transportation Incentives for a Cleaner California. My name is Adelina Paez. I'm an air pollution specialist and regional liaison for the Clean Transportation Outreach section here at CARB. My work is mainly focused on light-duty outreach, liaison for planning and capacity grants, and tribal coordinator for the Mobile Source Control Division. In addition, I'm taking lead for the evening community meetings, an effort to help support with the coordination of the funding plan. I would like to take a quick minute to acknowledge that tonight will be my colleague William Turner's last night helping lead the evening community meetings. We thank you for all of your hard work and dedication to this effort, William. I also want to thank you for your patience in training and mentoring me throughout the past couple of months. I know I can be a little, you have to tell me more than once. We will miss having you around, but hopefully you can pop in from time to time and come visit us, hang out. Also, I wanted to say thank you to Stephanie Parent. Your guidance has been super helpful, and I look forward to working with you some more. Just to let everybody know, it takes an entire team of CARB folks to make this evening happen. So thank you to everyone who has played a role. You're all super important, and just thank you so much. Before we get caught up in the details of everything, let's just take care of a few housekeeping items. This meeting will be recorded and will be available on our meetings and workshops webpage in about 2 weeks. This will also include the agenda, slides, and attendee list. Staff will drop a link in the chat with this information. Okay, meeting agreements. Let's just go through these really quickly. First one, be respectful. Let's be kind and create a comfortable workspace for everyone to share their thoughts and experiences. 2, take space and or make space. If you're usually quiet, challenge yourself to contribute a little bit if you'd like. This should be the space for it, and please feel comfortable to do so. If you don't, that's okay too. If you talk a little bit too much, leave room for others to participate. Next, listen to understand. Listen without judgment or jumping to conclusions. Finally, consider equity. We all aim to develop solutions with fairness and equality in mind. People from all over California are here to work together on the clean transportation incentives. These diverse perspectives can help us overcome barriers. With these agreements, let's continue. All right, so what is the purpose of evening community meetings? Our annual funding plan development process involves daytime public workshops and work group meetings on various incentive projects. However, we understand the community members face unique challenges attending these meetings compared to the representatives from industry, government, and non-government organizations. So, CARB continues to host monthly evening community meetings to make it easier for community members to engage with us at a later time, not during the day. Our goal of these community meetings are to provide a space for community voices and priorities, brainstorm solutions for clean transportation needs, highlight key funding plan information, and fostering ongoing communication between staff and community. Okay. CARB staff wants to ensure we provide community members with a wide variety of ways to collaborate with us. One way to collaborate is to participate in these evening meetings. However, we understand you may not feel comfortable speaking up in this forum, and that's okay. You may also meet with us one-on-one. We do have an open door policy, and I am very open. You just have to give us an email, and I can set something up. You may also complete the community survey to provide feedback, which is on the slide. And there is a link to the community survey. And again, these will be posted in a couple of weeks. So if you want to take a look at these slides at a later date, this survey link and the QR code will be there as well. All right. For today's agenda, we have a full packed agenda with lots of really good stuff for you guys to look through. First up, we have an introduction to Conversations with CARB's Executive Office presented by Maya Steinhardt, followed by a presentation from Lisa Kilidakis and Natalie Reevy on amendments to California's Clean Car regulations. Then a brief overview of the Clean Transportation Equity Incentives Symposium presented by Nick Nairn-Birch, which took place at CARB's headquarters April 18th. Another brief summary presented by Todd Sterling on the implementation of the fiscal year 2023-24 Clean Off-Road Equipment Voucher Incentive Project, also known as CORE. We will then take a 5-minute break and then return for the implementation of the fiscal year 2023-24 policy for the hybrid and zero-emission truck and bus voucher incentive project, also known as HVIP, presented by Ender Epwell. Last but not least, Manuel Aguila presenting Senate Bill 114, funding available for zero-emission school buses and infrastructure. After each presentation, there will be time for questions and answers. I will hand it over to my colleague, Heather Choi, for the questions and comments portion of this presentation.
Thanks, Adelina. Hi, everybody. My name's Heather, and I'll be facilitating comments and questions this afternoon. We will open the floor for everyone to ask questions about logistics, technical issues, or anything we've covered so far in the presentation. If you would like to make a comment or ask a question, please use the webinar feature to raise your hand. For those using Zoom online, please click on the raised hand option on the Zoom navigation bar under the Participants tab. And for those using Zoom on a mobile application, please click on the raise hand option in the More tab. For those who are participating by telephone, please be sure to press #2, and I will call on you accordingly. If you would like to email us a question, please send it to cleantransportationincentives@arb.ca.gov, which is shown on the slide. And Maggie's also going to drop the link in the chat for everyone. When you are commenting, please include your name and affiliation, and then you state your question or comment. And my friend Maggie here is also going to be monitoring that inbox and will let me know if you guys send any questions in that way. So for those on Zoom or on the phone, once your line is open, you can begin to speak. And like I said, please state your name and affiliation before providing your comment. Let me see if there's anybody with their hands raised. None yet. Probably not too many questions at this time, Madalena.
I figured, but logistics, people may have issues.
Yeah.
All right, moving forward. Thank you, Heather, for the questions and comments portion. I will hand everything off to Maya Steinhardt. You're on, Maya.
Hello, thank you all for being here today. My name is Maya Steinhardt, and I'm an executive fellow placed here at CARB. I'm here today to introduce a new program that CARB is developing and invite you to provide input to ensure this program provides an accessible, meaningful avenue for community members and community-based organizations to speak with CARB's executive office. CARB is currently rethinking how we do community engagement and is finding ways to be more accessible to community members and CBOs, as shown by this and other community meetings. We are currently developing a new program tentatively called Conversations with the Executive Office to provide another avenue for you to provide feedback and for our executive team to build a more complete understanding of community concerns and needs. Our objectives are to build trusted relationships between CARB and communities, address community concerns, increase transparency on CARB's work, and continue to integrate environmental justice and racial equity into all aspects of CARB work. Through this program, we are doing listening session style meetings with CARB's executive office on topics of interest or concern to environmental justice communities. This is a rough planning timeline for the rollout of this program. I've been gathering community input since March and will continue to do so. So this timeline may change slightly, but we are hoping to have the first conversation to occur in late June, early July. We still have planning questions that we need input on, including, next slide, please. Some of the questions we're seeking input on while we're still in the development process are simple. Is this a program you would be interested in participating in? How should we prioritize conversations if there's a large volume of interest? What topics do you want to discuss? If you are interested in helping us develop this program, we would love to hear from you. On the next slide is a QR code to a survey to provide your input in writing, or we can schedule a chat for verbal feedback. So the QR code is a 12-question survey that should take you about 5 minutes if you want to complete it. They are anonymous unless you choose to add your email for the follow-up, and you can answer as many or as few of the questions as you'd like. If surveys aren't your thing, my contact information is on the next slide to schedule a phone or a video call to provide verbal input to. And then I have a couple minutes left over for Q&A if anyone needs it, and I'm going to drop the link to that QR survey in the chat as well in case you missed it.
Thanks, Maya. All right, folks, it's that time again where if you have a question for Maya or anything else about the logistics of this meeting or any other questions that we talked about in the beginning, you may raise your hand. If you're calling on the phone, please press, I think it's #2. Yes, #2. What did I just say? And I'll also check in to see if Maggie, are you on the webinar? Did you get any questions into the inbox?
We have received a question, but it kind of fits in with kind of the more broad general topic. So we'll save it.
None for Maya. Okay. I think that's thank you very much. Did a great job, Maya. We have about 1 more minute left. I don't see any hands raised, so I don't know if you want to take it back to the next one, Adelina.
I'm just going to interrupt for just
Sorry
a
about
moment.
Go ahead, Stephanie.
Well, I think I'm in the Spanish channel. I hear both Spanish interpreters interpreting at the same time. So maybe you could coordinate with each other, like when you're going to switch off, because I'm hearing both of you in Spanish at the same time. Okay. Okay, she's going to stop and take over in 20 minutes, Mariana said. Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Stephanie, for handling that. I really appreciate it. Let's see, up next. Thank you, everyone, for your questions and comments. Thank you, Heather. We will now hand it off to Lisa and Natalie.
Yeah, hi. It's going to be just me tonight. I'm giving the presentation just so anyone behind the scenes knows the setup. So thank you, Adelina, so much for inviting us to participate in this evening community meeting tonight. And good evening, everyone. Thanks for being here and spending your precious evenings with us here at CARB. My name is Lisa Kilodikis, and I work here at CARB on regulations aimed at reducing pollution from light-duty cars and trucks, which we call our Advanced Clean Cars program. We are currently working on amendments to these regulations, and we'd like to hear about your priorities and what you think is important as we develop our proposal. Can you go to the next slide, please? So here's an overview of what I'll be going over tonight. First, I'll describe the impacts of climate change and identify the biggest contributors to greenhouse gas emissions, which cause climate change. Next, I will discuss our requirements to reduce pollution from cars and our plans for additional reductions. I will then introduce the concept of a new window sticker that would help new car buyers compare zero-emission vehicles. Then I'll provide information on how we plan to gather input on these regulations through workshops and community meetings. And then finally, I'll end with information on how you can stay involved and provide input throughout the process. So next slide, please. So as the climate continues to warm, the risks to human health will continue to grow, worsening existing health threats and creating new public health challenges. Populations at higher risk of exposure to adverse climate-related health threats include older adults, children, low-income residents, and people of color, specifically non-Hispanic Black individuals. When considering the full range of threats from climate change as well as other environmental exposures, these groups are among the most exposed, most sensitive, and have the least individual and community resources to prepare for and respond to health threats. As an agency focused on public health, it's vital for us to take action to cut greenhouse gas pollution from every possible source. Since passenger cars and trucks and the fuels they use are responsible for more than half of California's greenhouse gas and smog-forming pollution, it is crucial that we continue to tackle these emissions. Next slide. So here at CARB, we address pollution, vehicle pollution in several ways. I know many of you have been engaged with CARB's process to develop its funding plan for incentives. This plays a big role in helping to bring cleaner technologies to communities that need them and accelerating progress on addressing these emissions. We also have strong regulatory programs that set minimum requirements for automakers to control pollution from their vehicles, which I'll discuss in more detail in the coming slides. I also want to mention that we work closely with a lot of partners, like other state agencies and nonprofit organizations, to help achieve our goals of advancing cleaner technologies and reducing transportation emissions. Next slide. So our clean car standards have been around since 1990, and we've updated them several times over the years, with the most recent update being the Advanced Clean Cars 2 regulations approved by our board in August of 2022. So Advanced Clean Cars 2 requires that an increasing percentage of new vehicle sales meet a zero-emission standard, ramping up to 100% of these sales by the 2035 model year. Cars that meet this standard include battery electric, plug-in hybrid electric, and hydrogen fuel cell electric vehicles. Advanced Clean Cars 2 also includes what we call zero-emission vehicle assurance measures. Recognizing that the quality of these vehicles will be key to growing the market, Advanced Clean Cars 2 includes measures that are designed to give drivers confidence when buying a new or used zero-emission vehicle or truck, such as meaningful battery warranties and information for drivers about the health of their battery. In Advanced Clean Cars 2, we also updated the low-emission vehicle criteria, air pollutant standards, to continue to clean up those conventional gas cars to reduce exposure to vehicle pollution. However, there was one piece of this pie that we did not address in the Advanced Clean Cars 2 regulation that was adopted in August of 2022, and it was the greenhouse gas standards. And that is why we're amending the Advanced Clean Cars 2 regulations at this time. So even though the zero-emission vehicle regulation in Advanced Clean Cars 2 will dramatically reduce greenhouse gas emissions from new cars, there is still more we can do to meet our state's ambitious climate goals. One important event that is helping inform this regulatory process is the federal government's new requirements to reduce both greenhouse gas emissions and air pollution from vehicles. These regulations are designed to achieve many of the same goals as California's program, but they apply at the national level. We have been looking at the final rule they released this past March to consider what elements of our regulation we would update, or if there are areas that we would like to go further. We are also using these amendments as an opportunity to consider a new consumer-focused zero-emission vehicle new zero-emission vehicle measures, including a requirement to help improve the public charging experience and new information to include on a new vehicle window sticker for those looking to buy or lease an electric vehicle. So next slide, please. As we develop the amendments to the Advanced Clean Cars regulations, we have several priorities to keep and things to keep in mind. First, we expect the Advanced Clean Cars 2 zero-emission vehicle rule to provide significant greenhouse gas reductions, but we are not banning gas cars altogether. So new gas cars will still be sold between now and 2035 and will operate well into the future. So while we are encouraged by the federal rules released in March, we want to make sure that we have strong requirements in California to protect our climate benefits and public health, no matter the political situation at the federal level. As we think through what level of reductions to require, we need to strike the right balance between cleaning up gasoline cars while staying focused on zero-emission vehicles. These rules are addressing the last gas cars sold in California, all while considering how this will impact the cost of buying and driving new and used cars in California. Technologies that reduce greenhouse gas emissions can also help to reduce how much you spend on fuel. It might mean you have to spend more upfront for a car, but you would save money over time. So next slide, please. So now we have some questions for you. All the input we've received from you today, and as we talk to communities throughout California, will help us understand your priorities and how far we should push automakers to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, from their new passenger cars and trucks. So here are some questions. Should we set new requirements for car manufacturers to further reduce emissions from gasoline vehicles? How much would you be willing to pay for a lower emitting gasoline car, new or used, if that car, if the cost of that car would be offset over time by lower operating costs? And when you think about buying a car or truck in 2030, think about that. What options do you hope to see, like on the dealer lot, or just, when you're looking to buy a new car or used car? Do you want to see zero emission vehicles like battery electric or fuel cell electric? Do you want to see a lot of conventional hybrids available, plug-in hybrids, or more conventional gas cars that might be more expensive but have lower greenhouse gas emissions and lower operating costs? So I know that's a lot of questions. So happy to review those again, or just get people's thoughts on any of these concepts or ideas when you're thinking about cars in California. I'll just give everyone a minute to review those questions and let us know if you have any thoughts.
Thanks, Lisa. So you want people to raise their hands via the Zoom
Sure.
chat? If anybody has a question for Lisa, or a comment, not a question, but an answer, we have somebody right now. So I'm going to say unmute your mic, Gerald Pointer, and please remember to state your first and last name and your affiliation before you make your comment.
Sorry, Heather, I just kind of threw that at you.
I know, I was like, okay. It's all right, we got it.
Yeah, we got it.
Yeah, hi, hello. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, hi.
Yes.
Hi, yes, my name is Gerald Pointer. So is there any more information you need from me besides my name?
No, do you have if you have an affiliation, like a place of work?
No, I don't have an affiliation. I'm just a consumer.
Okay, sounds good.
Yes. I had a question. Well, comment as far as because I would definitely like to purchase a electric vehicle or hybrid vehicle because of the high gas prices. Because I do have asthma, so that's why it concerns me about the air. The program, I stay in the unincorporated area of Southern California, of Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
And the program in my area has where you can retire your vehicle only if it's a 2007 or a lower vehicle. And I think if they want to get more of the gasoline burning cars off the street, they need to raise it from a little bit higher than that. Because I would definitely turn my car in, but it's a 2010. And I don't qualify for the program, but I don't have enough money to purchase an electric vehicle or a hybrid. And I don't qualify for the program because my car misses it by maybe 3 years, 2 years. So I just want to know, is it possible that I think they should raise the level, at least to 2015, maybe, and lower, or 2014, somewhere up in there. It would allow more people to retire their gasoline burning cars and to be able to get incentive to purchase a newer, a EV or a hybrid car. So
yeah, thank you. That's really helpful. I think maybe we can definitely get your contact information too, and just follow up with maybe some other resources that could be available to you. But we will definitely pass that information on to the folks that run those programs as well.
Okay. I'm sorry. I get kind of nervous speaking, so I'm sorry.
No, I appreciate you speaking up. Thank you. We'll definitely have someone, I think, follow up and just share maybe some other resources with you. But thanks for being here.
All right. I really appreciate if they follow with me. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You're
Thanks,
doing
Gerald.
great, Gerald.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Bye.
All right. I'm gonna mute you now and call on the next attendee.
Sorry, Heather, to interrupt. Before we move on, I think there had been a request from Mike to switch with Mariana for the Spanish interpretation. So if Mariana could now take over for that, that would be great. Sorry for the interruption. Thanks.
That's okay. Welcome, Mariana. Okay, so the next caller is Jessica Alorina. I'm going to unmute your speaker, and you can say your name and affiliation and talk to us.
Hi. So my name is Jessica Jallerina, like you mentioned. I actually work for a company called Hioki. It's a electrical energy testing solutions. That's not the reason why I have a question. You guys are actually using our equipment as well as the EPA for compliance testing. So when a car says it can have this sort of range, our products are used to kind of test that by both the EPA and the car companies themselves have it. But so my particular concern with the EVs is the infrastructure. So a couple of years ago, I'm swear by car driver to Subarus now, and they had a mild hybrid a couple of years ago, and they stopped making that because it really wasn't a true hybrid. So I'm kind of I got an ICE car in the meantime, so internal combustion gas car in the meantime, but I'm trying to hold out for when they supposedly have the true hybrid instead of opting for the Solterra. Because of the infrastructure. So for example, I don't have the infrastructure of where I live to have charging in my home. So I actually have to either go a block down or a block up. And I've noticed that, at, grocery store, they have a couple of stations, but they seem to always be not working. And let's just say I was in I think it was Sunnyvale a couple of weeks ago, and the Tesla superchargers right by the Tesla dealership, they were all out of commission. So that's the part that kind of scares me, and why I would not fully opt for I would not opt for an electric vehicle at this time, and I want to just kind of hold out for a hybrid. So, what is the state doing to help build out that infrastructure, especially with the geography that we have? I've talked to, like emergency vehicles who that's being kind of explored with. So I know of one fire truck that's down in LA that's fully electric, but even then it's not fully electric because I think the water pump is still powered by gas. And then I know, there's been some emergency facilities like police stations who are like, well, I'm not sure if that will work because if we have to go into a remote area or you have to go really far, what EV is going to be able to get that range and get that speed? So, for example, the only car that I know of that has long range is Lucid, but that's really a luxury vehicle. It's not really meant, I don't know, but they probably are not going to do any R&D that's geared towards emergency vehicles. So again, like what is the infrastructure looking like for this? So sorry, I probably talked too much.
No. Thank you. Yeah, that is a concern we hear a lot, and there are the state is working on many fronts to work on just building out the infrastructure in California, especially in rural, tribal communities, and in the reliability. So they're working on codes and standards and making sure they have reliability standards that are tied to like public funds. There's a whole list of things, and I'd be happy, to share that with you after the meeting, and if anybody wants to chime in. But the Energy Commission is working on reliability and standards for that. There are a lot of new standards for the charging plugs and Also, we're going to be working on interoperability, which is how the car and the chargers talk to each other as part of this regulation. So definitely stay informed and sign up for our listservs and stay informed on our regulation. But we're also happy to follow up with you and just outline a lot of the work the state's doing to help with the reliability and building out that infrastructure.
Yeah,
Thank you
Lisa,
so
I
much.
can also just chime in that there's also, when you're talking about the emergency, there's a emergency response. I always get these words mixed up. Emergency load response, emergency response load, I don't know, something like that, but there's definitely a lot of efforts from the CPUC as well, looking at what we can do to make sure that there is that energy resources where people are going to need them. So it could be like mobile battery supplies, like a school bus, for instance, as battery electric school buses can serve as that as well. But thank you. So
And
we have.
I just want to add something as well. I believe it was last month at the April evening community meeting that we did have a guest presenter from the California Energy Commission. So if anybody wants to go back to our meetings and events webpage, I believe the link had been dropped in earlier. We should have the recording of that meeting up in case you want to look at that for more information and updates from the CEC, the Energy Commission. Thanks.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and mute you, Jessica, and I'm going to call on our next raised hand, Mark McAllister. I'm going to unmute your line. You can state your name and affiliation.
Hi, this is Mark McAllister. Just affiliated as a member of the public.
Hi, Mark.
Long time interest in involvement with zero and low emission vehicles, starting back in 2007 with a Toyota Camry hybrid. Went through a 3-year lease on a 2017 Bolt, and then currently in a 2023 Bolt EUV. And when it came time, we had an accident in the Bolt EUV. It was relatively new and didn't know how long it was going to be out of commission with the supply chain shortage or problems they were having. So we figured we had to get into the car. So we opted to pick up on a older 2018 Ioniq plug-in hybrid. That way we can most of the time be able to use the plug-in hybrid. We use that for our little short runs and save the Bolt for when we have to go down to San Diego from North County, airport visits or whatever. So my first comment, I guess, would be on your questions you have. Conventional hybrids, scrap them. The plug-in hybrids with a something like a 10 to 20 kilowatt hour battery are an excellent option. They can allow you to do your shopping and short commutes almost fully electric, and it just takes over when you're out of charge and you're running on gas, and as soon as you can get a chance to charge it up, you can. Speaking of which, after getting the 2017 Bolt in 2019, I managed to qualify under Grid Alternatives program and was able to get solar installed on our house. So now we're charging both of those cars with solar and still contributing like 1,000 kilowatt hours back to the grid for our neighbors to use. One thing that I would like to see when buying a truck in 2030, certainly by that time, preferably before that, being a 70-year-old and my wife is 80, we don't have too many more years before we probably aren't going to be that safe to be on the road. So an autonomous vehicle, such as what Tesla has been working on for the last 6 years, is very desirable. And another option I'd like to see that was presented as a bill for California was to require vehicle to home connectivity so that you could pull charge from the vehicle connected to your home to be able to continue pretty much normal living in case of a power outage. But more than that, I think it's important to have them for load balancing going forward, as more people are needing to plug in their cars to charge. It becomes more important that we have sources for power for them to charge. So having the ability to plug in your car and provide energy to the grid is as important, if not more important, as being able to plug into the grid to charge a car. You can, at least in my case, I have a couple of places that I can go to charge if I need to. And just would like to see a little impetus put on getting additional bills going forward, because the longer we wait to require something like that, the more of the electric vehicles that are on the road that don't have the capabilities, and we're missing out on that opportunity. I think that pretty much covers it.
Thank you. Thanks. That's really great input. Appreciate it. I think we'll finish up the slides and we'll have some time maybe at the end for to answer some additional questions, if that makes sense. Thank you, everyone, for your input. My next slide. So I mentioned earlier a consumer-facing window sticker. So as I mentioned, we are considering the type of information provided to consumers due to all the unique elements specific to electric vehicles. So, oh, I think I'm missing here. All right, sorry. So as the sales of zero-emission vehicles increase to 100% by 2035, we need to help consumers as they shop and compare both new and used electric vehicles. So if any of you have shopped for a new car recently, or in the last probably 10 years, you've probably seen the US EPA fuel economy sticker or looked up information about a car online. So this is an image of the fuel economy sticker that you'll find on new cars right now. So we're used to seeing things like miles per gallon or MPG or other information presented on a label when we shop for gasoline cars. But what about electric vehicles that don't run on gasoline? So while the information included on the existing fuel economy label is certainly valuable for gasoline cars, we're interested in exploring whether California can require additional information that would help consumers when they are considering an electric vehicle. This information would be visible on the window of new cars and then available online as these vehicles enter the used car market. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, we're reconsidering the type of information provided to consumers due to all the unique elements specific to electric vehicles. So some of the information we're considering for a new window sticker for electric vehicles. We're considering the driving distance. So this is how far the car can drive on a full charge. And we are looking at the best type of driving distance to provide, since it can vary based on things like how much high speed or highway speed driving is done, or how cold or hot it is outside. We're also looking at the charging speed. So we are trying to determine the most meaningful way to display how fast a car can charge using the different types of charging equipment that exist. We're also considering, is it important to have battery information on a label or on a sticker? We want to know if battery size is important information to put on the sticker. Environmental scores is another piece of information we're looking to determine if this is something we should put on a window sticker, or maybe have this as part of a website that people can go visit and compare cars on a website rather than on the window sticker. So this is another area we really like to get people's thoughts on the type of information that you think would be valuable on a specific window sticker for electric vehicles. Since we'll just go, I think we'll just continue going to the end, and then we can revisit these questions after I finish the presentation. So I just want to go over quickly our schedule for community meetings and workshops. We appreciate your insights today, and we're going to continue to meet with the public through community meetings and workshops over the next few months. So we are planning to have a more technical virtual workshop upcoming here on June 26th. So this will focus on more technical information, mostly for automakers who are directly affected by the regulation, but everyone is welcome to attend. And then later this summer and the fall, we will have in-person community meetings to get input from the public. So we'll have, these are some tentative kind of date windows or months and locations. So we're hoping to have maybe in the August timeframe, something in the Oxnard and Stockton area in person, and then maybe in September, Imperial County and Sacramento, but these might shift a little, and we'll make sure to keep everyone informed as those get finalized. But we're really interested to hear what topics would be of most interest to you all, and what kinds of meetings and formats would work best for residents of your communities to learn about these amendments that we're thinking about. So we're always looking for opportunities for more open dialogue and input. So please let us know if you have, if you want a one-on-one meeting to learn more about the details of our amendments and this regulation, or if you have opportunities to meet with members of your community in the coming months. So next slide, please. So just really want to thank you for your time, and yeah, would love to take more comments, but here are some ways you can stay informed by joining our email listserv. You can also learn more information from our website, and then please let us know if you'd like to connect. Just send us an email, and we would set up a time to talk to you and learn more about what you think about our proposals, and if you have community members and ways that we can reach out to them, we'd love to connect with you on that as well. So with that, I just want to say thank you, and happy to take more comments or questions.
Hey, thanks, Lisa. We're actually only have a little bit of time before we move on to the next one. So if we have anybody who has questions on the amendments to California's clean car regulations that Lisa just presented, please go ahead and raise your hand. And let's try and keep the comments pretty specific. If not, then we can also follow up with email. I'm also going to remind you, you can email us at the email address on the screen, and Maggie will let us know if there's any questions that come in that way. So first up, I have Michael McCarthy. I'm going to unmute your mic. Please state your name and affiliation.
Mike McCarthy, Riverside Neighbors Opposing Warehouses. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. So on the Advanced Clean Cars regulations, by my reading of the 2022 Air Quality Management Plan, passenger vehicles are going to be a not top 10 category for NOx, or maybe it'll be 9th out of 10 in terms of the emissions categories, and maybe off the charts for VOCs. And so it seems like passenger cars are low priority. And so I would say that they aren't a high priority, in my opinion. I think we should be focusing on the big polluters like trucks and boats and planes and rail, and less on individual passenger cars. We've done a great job with that, so congratulations, CARB. I own 2 electric cars, a Honda Ioniq 5 and a VW e-Golf, and I owned a Honda Civic hybrid before that for 20 years. And the thing that's most terrifying is the battery cost. So that would be what I would put on the sticker. What does it cost to replace the battery? Both for the hybrids and for the zero emission vehicles, because it could be like a significant fraction of the total cost of the vehicle. And not knowing that, and not knowing that is the thing that has to be warranted. And if you have to replace that, like there's some horror stories of like somebody, one of the like batteries getting punctured and you have to replace it's like $40,000 or something ridiculous. And that's like 80% of the cost of the vehicle. So that would be the one thing that I would put on a sticker. Not so much like the thing that's scariest is not the mileage or the charging or anything else. It's if the EV battery gets broken and you have to replace the whole thing, and you usually can't do it piecemeal. That's the big operational cost. So, and then lastly, elevation gain and long trips. Whenever you do a fast charge, you're like half as good on the next leg if you're doing a long distance trip. I've been to Death Valley, I've been to Oregon and from Southern California. And once you do that first fast charge, your battery gets heated up and all of a sudden it's like it goes 60% as far the next time. So the first one you get the full mileage, the second one you get 60% of your full mileage. When you do so, you can get your first leg, you can get 250 miles, and then the second leg, you can only get 150 miles because your battery is less good once it gets all hot. So I don't know how you measure that, but that's for the long distance trips. That's the thing that's scariest. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Michael. So our next caller is going to be Angelina Rolikis. I'm going to unmute your mic. Please state your name and affiliation and your comment.
Hi, everybody. I'm Angelina Rolex. I'm from Big Bear, California. I work with Mountain Transit. I know that it's a zero emissions, but I'm learning. I would like to learn more about hydrogen. I know we have a lot of stations with, gas and diesel, and then we have now a lot of areas that we can do electric, but I can't seem to find very many places that have hydrogen. So that's one of my things I'd like to learn more about, and find out how we can get more hydrogen stations out and about.
Yeah, thank you. We can follow up with you about the hydrogen stations. I don't know top of my head how many there are now, maybe close to 50 in California, but I know that's not nearly enough. So I can definitely follow up and provide more information about the plans for hydrogen stations.
Great.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. Yeah, infrastructure. So Maggie, I believe, has the one question from the email that would be appropriate to ask, and then we can thank Lisa.
Great. Thanks. Yeah. So actually this question, it might not necessarily be for Lisa, but it kind of fits into this discussion. So I'm going to read Bob's question, which was, what is the status of the Clean Cars for All program and the financing assistance program? And he also followed up with a question about the expected ETA for both those programs as well.
Yeah, I will rely on someone to chime in on that one.
Yes, thanks, Maggie. I'll take that one. This is Raquel Cardenas, one of the managers here at CARB that oversees what was called the Joint Statewide Clean Cars for All and Financing Assistance Program, but it has been officially named the Driving Clean Assistance Program, or DCAP. That program is still kind of in its last stages of development, but we are hoping to roll out that program by the end of this summer. CARB staff did hold a work group last week on May 16th to discuss this potential rollout plan. And I will drop a link to our meetings and workshops page in the chat, so that way you can review materials from the May 16th work group. A recording of the work group will be posted shortly, hopefully sometime later this week. But I'm also going to include a link right now to the webpage that's been developed for the program, where you can find some additional information and also subscribe to get updates on the program.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Raquel. So at this time, Lisa, thank you very much. And we were going to go ahead and go on to our next segment.
Thank you.
Right. Good evening, everybody. My name is Nick Nairn-Birch, and I'll be giving a recap, an overview of the Clean Transportation Equity Incentives Symposium event that we hosted back on April 18th here, or not here, I suppose, in Sacramento at our Cal EPA headquarters. So the event, you can stick with the first slide if you want for this one. I'll let you know to go to the second slide. Thank you. So this is, I should just let folks know, this was an event focused on our suite of light duty clean transportation equity incentives, most of which we discuss regularly at these community meetings. So this event, again, was hosted on April 18th, had over 250 guests, including over 100 attending in person. This is a hybrid event, and it brought together incentive project administrators, outreach partners, community groups, and other stakeholders for a rare opportunity, at least in person, to network and build relationships across projects, while also engaging in important discussions on challenges and lessons learned from program implementation. The event opened with a keynote address from Chanel Fletcher, that's CARB's Deputy Executive Officer of Equity, Communities, and Environmental Justice. And that set the tone for the day with a discussion on CARB's equity work broadly, both internally as an institution and across CARB's various programs and regulations. This was followed by 2 panel discussions focused on themes critical to ensuring CARB's incentive programs reach and serve environmental justice and disadvantaged communities throughout the state. And these topics specifically were streamlining and simplifying access to these programs, and also partnering with community-based organizations. So after the first 2 panel sessions, a long lunch break gave guests the opportunity to network and browse a number of the project posters that we had up at the Cal EPA building. After lunch, guests selected among 3 breakout sessions to attend for more focused discussions on project evaluation and performance metrics, the intersection of equity and clean mobility, and opportunities for clean transportation beyond owning a car. This symposium concluded with an open discussion where guests could ask questions of panelists and CARB, closing the loop on topics and threads from previous agenda items. So that's a good quick overview of the symposium. And in the next couple slides, I'll give you a little bit more detail on the specific agenda items and what we heard. So the first panel session convened representatives, as you see here on the slide, from several program administrators to discuss the topic of streamlining access both to the programs that they implement and streamlining access collectively across all those programs. The specific programs represented in this panel included Access Clean California, clean mobility options, both the San Joaquin Valley and San Diego Air District respective Clean Cars for All programs, and also the upcoming statewide Drink Clean Assistance Program, as well as the previous pilot project of the same name. A clear overarching theme that emerged from the discussion with this panel was the need to balance the simplicity of access to the programs with the need to minimize the hurdles during the application process, as well as the need to also simultaneously adapt programs to the varying needs and characteristics of many diverse and unique communities, each with their own varying needs. The following are also some more specific topics that were highlighted during the panel. First, stick to this slide, please. Thank you. So another thing that we heard was, while it's critical to simplify and streamline access, the application process should not be a one-size-fits-all approach, but rather they must be malleable and provide a level of technical assistance that ensures all communities are able to access and complete the application. It's also critical to have clear, consistent, and transparent communication with communities. And this communication needs to go in both directions. Also, where possible, the need to collaborate with existing community networks is critical to understanding the transportation needs, and also to help identify existing community assets and strengths that can help the programs reach their targets. Finally, with this panel, the point was made that CARB and program administrators need to recognize that communities are not monolithic, and that meeting people where they are can mean different things in different contexts. All right, next slide, please. Thank you. Okay, the symposium's second panel hosted a really engaging and enlightening conversation between panelists representing community-based organizations. Also, we refer to them by the acronym CBOs. And they reflected on their experience as program partners and discussed what CARB can do to ensure CBOs play a greater role in program implementation moving forward. So the panelists you'll see here on this slide include Luis Olmedo from Comité Cívico de Valle. They're located in the Imperial Valley area. Also Prior Consulting, Selena Prior from the Sacramento area. Andres Ramirez from People for Mobility Justice in Los Angeles area. Eric Spikes is the director of the mobility programs operating under the Fresno Metro Black Chamber of Commerce. And also Dr. Arlena Waller of the Circle of Life Foundation located in Bakersfield. So a good mix of organizations that we've worked with on our programs across the state. I think this panel was likely the highlight of the symposium for many attendees, including myself. And I'll just touch on a couple of the insights and recommendations that they provided. First, I'll just start with there's a couple good quotes. First was transportation is the equalizer. So along with childcare, we heard that transportation is often presents the biggest barrier to jobs and income. Also, another quote is community needs to be at the table. We heard this a lot, and this is panelists urging CARB to ensure that disadvantaged communities have equal representation in our public processes so that funding doesn't keep going to the same places and the same organizations through our grants. Several panelists made the point that some CBOs are capable of implementing technologically complex grants, such as installing DC fast charging networks, for example, yet they're often overlooked for such investment opportunities broadly. Finally, panelists highlighted the need for better data and quantitative measures to identify and prioritize communities for investment. Rural communities especially are poorly represented in tools like EnviroScreen and thus continue to be overlooked. Okay, so I'll move on to the next slide, please. So after the second panel, there was the break for lunch. Attendees returned and had option of joining one of 3 breakout sessions. You'll see the various topics here on the slide. So in the Transportation Incentive Project Evaluations session, attendees learned about recent efforts to analyze the outcomes and impacts of several of CARB's clean transportation incentive projects. Specific efforts covered included CARB's relatively new project called the California Light Duty ZEB Program's Insight Dashboard, which is an effort to create a unified location for folks to look at various metrics on our light duty incentive programs and leverage data visualization to compare and monitor program progress. Other evaluation efforts discussed in the session focused on CARB's Sustainable Transportation Equity Project and the Clean Mobility Options Program, including a recently completed report by UC Berkeley and UC Davis entitled Advancing Equitable Community-Based Transportation Planning, and a forthcoming report by the Shared Use Mobility Center. So when I finish my presentation, I'll drop links to the Insights dashboard and the published report. So if folks are interested, they can have a look at those. So the second session, attendees focused on the centering equity in the clean mobility space. And they participated in an exercise focused on the concept of transportation equity and how this concept can take on various interpretations in the clean mobility space. The session provided folks with concrete examples and best practices to ensure communities can affordably, safely, and efficiently access crucial mobility investments. Attendees also discussed how equity is being addressed in the programs they work on and explored approaches to address challenges for delivering clean mobility options in the communities they serve. So in the third breakout session, attendees learned about and discussed key lessons learned from several projects and provided focused on projects that provided alternative modes of transportation outside of vehicle ownership, such as car share, e-bikes, microtransit, and other non-vehicle options. The specific projects discussed in this session included the City of Sacramento's Green Cities and Car Share Services, also the Our Community, Our Shuttle Shared Mobility Solutions Project in San Francisco's Bayview Hunters Point neighborhood, and the e-bike outreach education and empowerment program implemented by the Sacramento area bicycle advocates. Okay, so the last slide, I'll just go over just a high-level summary of some of the main takeaways. So after the breakout sessions finished, attendees reconvened for the last agenda item, which was just an open discussion and an opportunity for everybody to revisit earlier discussions and provide feedback and ask questions where earlier there wasn't necessarily the time to do so. So there was a good long hour-and-a-half discussion that ended up a packed agenda for the day and concluded the symposium. And so, with time to reflect and debrief on what we heard, we were able to sort of synthesize and identify some of the most important takeaways from these agenda items. And I'll highlight some of these here as well. And these will be used to inform our work as we move forward. First, we heard from many that felt that the language of equity has been co-opted or risk being co-opted, and that there needs to be more transparency and greater accountability when it comes to defining and operationalizing transportation equity across our incentive programs. We also heard that there a clear message in the second panel that communities need greater direct investment from CARB, and that the state, from CARB and the state, along with less red tape and other bureaucratic barriers that make accessing this funding difficult, especially for smaller organizations with less resources. Fundamentally, we also heard that communities need a bigger seat at the table and greater involvement in designing and implementing clean transportation equity incentive programs. This includes more involvement in events even like the symposium itself, not just as panelists for one session, but in helping in the planning and agenda setting stages as well moving forward. We also heard that CARB needs to play an active role in facilitating community participation by funding technical assistance and capacity building efforts, just so helping folks get to the table and participating in our programs, a little extra effort, proactive investment can help on that front as well. Finally, I'd like to end with a quote that we heard a lot throughout the day, and that seemed to resonate strongly with, especially with the second panel, is don't do it better, do it different. I think the message here is that CARB needs to think creatively and listen to communities, and rather than just trying to sort of make minor tweaks to what we're already doing or what we've already done. With that, I will say that we're looking forward to hosting the symposium next year in March or April. We'll do this every year. And we're trying to do this in a different location each year. So next year, hopefully, we'll be in the South Coast area or San Joaquin Valley region. And hopefully, as many of you can participate as possible. These are always usually made to be hybrid events, so in person, but also remote. So with that, the last slide is just a simple thank you to everybody and for listening today, and also thanks to the folks that were able to attend the symposium and participate, and hopefully see you next year. And that's all I have on that one. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick. All right, so we are ready for our question and answer session. If anybody has questions for Nick about the Clean Transportation Equity Incentive Symposium overview, please go ahead and raise your hand and I will call on you. Or remember, you can also email us. Maggie is waiting to answer your email questions. Maggie, did you get any questions yet? I don't have any hands up yet.
No questions.
I'll just say I promised to drop a couple links. So right now I'm going to drop a link to the California Light Duty ZEB program's Insights Dashboard, one of the programs discussed in one of our breakout sessions. So I'm going to drop the link to that in case folks are interested in seeing what we have there. And I'll also drop a link to one of the evaluation reports that was published that I mentioned as well. I'll drop that in the chat.
Thank you. Oh, I have one question coming in, or one raised hand, sorry. Lala Agamirov Nost, I am going to unmute your line and please state your name and affiliation, and let's talk to Nick.
Are you hearing me? Yeah?
Yep.
You did? Okay, hello. Nick, thank you very much for your information. It was really very valuable. And it is not just question. I submitted my proposals for fiscal 5 years strategic plan program. And I just want to say something regarding that. Should we do any program or any changes in program for cleaner transportation? It was that the first question, I think, before this slide. So I think, of course, we should do much, much better in our technology. And as Nick said, it is not only better, it is different. We need lighter transportation, and hybrid, it is not only what we have now, it can be different technology involvement. I am first time presenting very light technology based on energy materials, which produce electricity under any kind of pressure, vibration, motion. And if as soft materials, they embedded into the tire of bikes or trucks of any cars, just driving your car to produce electricity. So I have my website, and I want to say to all of you, thank you very much, because you raised really very important questions. Because when we think about ice melting, now it is not only ice, it is glaciers as well. So it is not only ice, it is ice, snow, rocks on the ground. It is not on the water. So it is much, much now difficult. We really need, again, not better, different technology, because climate change getting really unpredictable. So thank you very much, all of you, and Nick, for you also, for very valuable information. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Lala. And then I think we also have a notice to the Spanish interpreters. I believe it's time to switch. Okay, we have no more hands raised. And if Maggie doesn't pipe in, then I'm going to assume that we don't have any email questions and we can move on. Thanks, Nick.
All right, let's do a 5-minute break, if you don't mind, Todd. Let's do a 5-minute break and we'll come back at 6:20. Is that okay with everybody?
Yeah, I think the next slide has the break on it too. If we want to put the slide up. One more, maybe two. There we go.
It's at 6:10, but let's, it's already 6:14, so 6:20. We'll be back at 6:20. All right, welcome back, everybody. All right, let's get started with our colleagues from CORE.
Hey, everybody.
Hi, Todd.
Being here. We all ready to go?
Yep.
Okay, super. So the core group had a really well-attended meeting back in March, March 27th. That work group meeting spurred many conversations during and after the meetings to tighten up and to produce an updated implementation manual. We're trying to make the equipment category incentive amounts fair for all original equipment manufacturers participating. The offer category offers many different types of equipment. This program is for off-road equipment, such as like thermal tractors, forklifts, construction equipment, agricultural equipment, and even commercial aircraft, if you don't know. But we're going to use these, the different equipment types. We're going to use the equipment's primary function to determine eligibility. We also have added the AB 794 requirements. If you don't know what that is, it's a attestation for on-road trucks to show that they're meeting all requirements for safety and their health and welfare of their employees. We've messaged in multiple meetings we'd like to talk and focus more on small businesses. So we're setting aside $14.3 million just for small businesses. And we'll also have another $50 million for the rest of CORE when we open later this summer. In the past, we've divided these funding up equally between the 10 different categories. This time, we're dividing more equitable as how we've spent it in the past. So we don't have any funding remaining in those categories after being open for about 6 months. So we've looked at all the equipment types, historical data, and determined that, so we'll be determining the equipment funding for those categories. We will be releasing the updated CORE IM that I spoke of earlier in the next few weeks. With that, we can open up for questions.
Hey, thanks, Todd. Should we open up for questions now or maybe wait until after the next session?
Oh, we could do that too. We could do HVIP and then we could do answer CORE and HVIP questions at the same time. Could tag team.
Yeah, what do you guys think? Adelina?
We can do questions now.
Okay.
How
All
about
right.
if you want to pull up any of the comments and question slides with the
Yeah, so
direction?
we can have anybody raise their hand if they want to ask a question about the new CORE incentive project. And I'm also going to assume that if Maggie's not piping in, then we don't have any email questions. If you're on the phone, the way to say that you need a question or want to raise your hand is to hit #2. And then we also have the Clean Transportation Incentives at arb.ca.gov email. I'm not seeing any questions right now, Todd, so I think you guys did a really good job.
Okay, well, if you have questions, you can always email me.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Am I good to go for HVIP?
Go ahead, Inder.
Okay, great. So I am Inder Atwal, and I work for on the HVIP program. I'm on the policy side, and we also recently had a implementation work group, and we are working on developing new funding plan updates this year. As we've kind of mentioned in that workshop and previous correspondence and last year's funding plan, we have a continued focus on equity, and ACF coordination. So, we expect this year to be the last year where fleets over 50 vehicles will be able to get funding. And so fleet size limit will be for fewer than 50 vehicles effective January 1st, 2025. We do expect to continue the voucher plus ups for small fleets and other incentive enhancements for small businesses. But we will be workshopping some of those new policy updates in the next few months. So look forward to presenting that information as we develop that. As far as strong voucher demand and record redemption pace, that has been the story of this last year. We are currently at about 165 million as of May 2024 left in HVIP standard funding. We do expect the way that vouchers are being redeemed to be exhausted by the end of October. But that is subject to change because that is depends on redemption timelines and so forth, but that's just our estimate going forward. So, and we are working currently on updating the implementation manual and specifically finalizing our demo provisions for dealers. And so that should be coming out in the next couple of weeks as well. And that's it. If we can open up for questions.
Thanks, Ender. All right,
No
so here
problem.
we are. If we have any questions for Ender and the fiscal year 2023-24 policy for HVIP, please raise your hand in the Zoom feature. If you're on the phone, you can press #2. And you can also, as we mentioned, Maggie also put the email address in the chat. You can also email us and we can answer your questions that way too. Give it a few minutes or maybe a minute just to see if any questions were typed really quickly and sent over to us via email.
No email questions so far.
All right. Going once, going twice. All right. Manuel, do you want to go ahead and start on your presentation?
Yes. Sorry, it's a little dark, but yes. Good evening, everyone. My name is Manuel Aguila. I'm an air pollution specialist at CARB. So today I'll be discussing the Zero Emission School Bus and Infrastructure, or ZESB project for short. This project is funded by an appropriation in the state's 2022-23 budget. And ZESB is a joint program from CARB and CEC to provide funding to assist local educational agencies incorporate zero-emission school buses and their complementary infrastructure into their school bus fleets. Next slide, please. So the ZESB project funding is designed to replace heavy-duty internal combustion engine school buses owned by local educational agencies with zero-emission school buses. They're supporting charging infrastructure and other associated costs. In June 2023, the legislature appropriated funding for ZESB grants in the SB 114 Education Omnibus Budget Trailer. This trailer bill amended the previous 2022 Education Budget Bill, which appropriated $1.5 billion from Proposition 98 for grants that support the adoption of zero-emission school buses and supporting infrastructure. Next slide, please. So the $500 million appropriated to CARB and CEC is part of the state's commitment to prioritize the deployment of zero-emission school buses and their accompanying infrastructure. Funding was appropriated from the fiscal year 2022-23 budget to assist with the deployment of zero-emission school buses, with the funds becoming available starting in fiscal year 2023-24. Of the $500 million, CARB was appropriated $375 million for the deployment of zero-emission school buses, and CEC was appropriated $125 million for the accompanying infrastructure and associated costs. The funding for school buses will be administered through the Clean Truck and Bus Program, also known as HVIP, and CEC's infrastructure incentives will be administered through their incentive program. Both programs are currently administered through CalSTART, which assists with streamlining the application process for incentive funds, as both CEC and CARB are committed to providing a very smooth and seamless application process for all eligible applicants. Next slide, please. So Senate Bill 114 provided direction on what applicants are eligible for ZESB grants. Eligible applicants are specified as being local educational agencies, which are defined as a school district, county office of education, or charter school with ownership of title for a school bus or school buses, a county office of education that contracts with a private contractor for maintenance and operation of its school buses, a joint powers authority currently operating home-to-school transportation programs on behalf of school districts, county offices of education, or charter schools, a school district or charter school that contracts with a county office of education or private contractor for the maintenance and operation of its school buses. It is important to note that charter schools that are designated as non-classroom based charter schools as of fiscal year 2021-22 are not eligible for the ZESB grant funding. Next slide, please. So in line with the legislative and state priorities to reduce emissions in overburdened communities, the ZESB project has set the applicant tier structure as follows. Tier 1, or the group of applicants who have priority in the ZESB grant program, would encompass the priority groups set forth by Senate Bill 114, which are rural or small school districts or local educational agencies with a high percentage of unduplicated pupils. So if funding remains after Tier 1, applicants that are designated as low income or disadvantaged communities would be the next priority group to receive ZESB grant funding. Both low income and disadvantaged communities are defined in the same manner for ZESB as it is with other funding programs at CARB. And if funding remains after awarding Tier 2 applicants that do not fall under Tier 1 or Tier 2, but are eligible under the definition of a California local educational agency, and who have an eligible school bus will have the opportunity to receive ZESB grant funding in Tier 3. Applications will be time-stamped with their respective tiers. So this is a timestamp based application. So basically it's on a first come, first served basis within each respective tier. If anybody is interested in looking at their local educational agency's priority tier, you can visit the ZESB website at californiahvip.org/ZESB, and I can go ahead and drop the link in the chat as well. And the breakdown is available under the resources section towards the bottom of the page. So for the ZESB project, again, is a replacement program. So that means to receive funding for a new zero-emission school bus, the eligible local educational agency must scrap an existing eligible internal combustion engine school bus of any fuel type. The replaced school bus must be model year 2010 or older and have a gross vehicle weight rating of more than 10,000 pounds. And SB 114 additionally mandates that any replaced school bus must be scrapped within 24 months of receipt of a new zero-emission school bus. A new school bus purchase must be then zero emission, capable of bidirectional electricity flow, so a V2G capable school bus. Next slide, please. And here we note a breakdown of the statewide priority landscape based on eligibility criteria previously discussed. So we do have a pie chart, two pie charts. The one on the left indicates the breakdown of eligible LEAs by priority tier. And in this breakdown, we know that Tier 1 LEAs account for about 68% of all eligible LEAs, where Tier 2 account for about 25%, and Tier 3 about 7%. And the pie chart on the right provides more of a breakdown of the school buses, the specific school buses that are model 2010 and older. So based on whether the local educational agency operates within the low income or disadvantaged community. So here we note that of all the school buses that are eligible for replacement, approximately 97% that are owned by local educationals that operate within low income or disadvantaged communities, and the remaining 3% do not. So this denotes that most funding will benefit LEAs that operate within low income and disadvantaged communities, helping to ease some of the environmental burdens and providing clean transportation for students. Next slide, please. So, and just a little brief overview of the incentive amounts for the school buses. So the school bus incentive amounts are based on the school bus types. So there are different body types. Type A is the smallest school bus, type C, medium size, and type D is the largest. So each school bus type has a base award amount, with a type A eligible for $280,000, up to $280,000. Type C up to $340,000, and type D eligible for up to $360,000. Each bus type is eligible for a plus up or an increased incentive amount for those school buses requiring wheelchair lifts. This increased incentive amount is $15,000 for each bus type and is in place to assist with the increased costs of adding the wheelchair lift. Next slide, please. All right, so to assist with the procurement of zero-emission school bus, CARB worked with DGS, or the Department of General Services, to develop statewide procurement contracts for the purchase of zero-emission school buses, setting multiple contracts for each bus type. Contract awards for type A, which are the smallest school bus, went to, well, I don't want to go into each and every one of them, but we do have contracts available for each bus type listed. And the prices listed on the slide are the contract amounts based on the procurement contracts through Department of General Services. Each of these contracts are in place for 2 years with up to 3 one-year extensions, so up to 5 years total. The contracts are not required to be utilized are not required to obtain ZESB funding, but rather are a resource to assist with the procurement of zero-emission school bus. So additionally, any California local educational agency or state government interested in purchasing zero-emission school buses can utilize the contracts now, as each of these contracts are currently active. Additional information is available by following the links on the slide, which will take you to the DGS website. Next slide, please. So as indicated previously, grant awards for the ZESB program are for the vehicle, infrastructure, and other associated costs, but these are requirements that must be adhered to. So the first item of note, each ZESB grantee will only be eligible for one ZESB funded charger per school bus. So using the one charger to one bus ratio, the amount of infrastructure award will be based on the bus type of the chargers grantee selects. So in reference to the table, if a grantee selects a level 2 charger, they'll be eligible for up to $20,000. If a grantee selects a direct current fast charger or DCFC, they'll be eligible for up to $75,000. And if a bidirectional charger is selected, they will be eligible for up to $95,000. And additional information on infrastructure can be found on the ZESB website, which I had linked previously. Next slide, please. So lastly, a few key dates. The application window opened May 14th and is currently accepting applications and will remain open through September 30th, 2024. So if you're an eligible applicant and you have not yet submitted your application, we highly encourage you to apply as soon as possible at californiahvip.org/ZESB. And for non-LEA attendees, if you would like to see more zero-emission school buses in your area, you can definitely reach out to your local educational agencies and encourage them to apply for the ZESB grant funding. And some additional notes, there's still funding available from the HVIP standard program to assist with the purchase of zero-emission school buses. HVIP standard is not a replacement program in the same manner that ZESB is, meaning it does not require scrappage of an old school bus. It is designed to assist with the purchasing of a zero-emission school bus through funding of the incremental costs of a zero-emission school bus. Also, US EPA's Clean Heavy Duty Vehicle Grants Program is currently available, as well, with funding available to also assist with the purchase of new zero-emission school buses. The US EPA's application period runs through July 25th. So I'll end it there, and I'll hold for any questions.
Thanks, Manny. You know, I love a good zero emission school bus. So it's really exciting to hear about all that great opportunity going around in the state. So this is going to be our last question and answer session. First, let's have raised hands if anybody has comments or questions for Manny about the SB 1114. Wait. 114 funding for zero emission school buses and infrastructure, also known as ZESB. And then you can also email your question to clean transportation incentives at arb.ca.gov. And then we'll make sure we have some questions for Manny first, but then after that, please be ready to ask you general questions because we will open up the floor after we're done with this presentation. I'm not seeing anything yet, Manny. Manny, did you ever ride in a school bus when you were going to school?
I did drive in or ride in one of those old diesel school buses. I remember the smell vividly.
Yeah, I've been in one recently and I was like, whoa, how did we travel in this?
I know, very different.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm not seeing any hands raised, but yeah, really exciting to hear. And then I think at this time we can go ahead and open it up for any questions, but also if anybody has a question for Manny, he'll be on the line too. I do have one hand raised so far. So this is Mark McAllister. I'm going to unmute your mic and you can ask your question. Please state your name and affiliation if you have one, and let us know who your question might be directed to, if it was to one of the presentations or if it's a general question.
All right, thank you. This is Mark McAllister, unaffiliated. And I did want to go back to one of the earlier segments that you were looking for some input regarding information that might be included on a window sticker.
Oh yeah, that's the one that for the advanced clean cars. Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, I would say consider not reinventing the wheel and providing something that's quite familiar to people who have shopped for appliances in the last 20 years, and use a similar format where you have a range of say refrigerators on is how it would be on the appliances, anywhere from say 22 to 25 cubic feet. It'll have a range showing how much the operational costs would be for those that range, and then it has the particular item that you're looking for as a highlighted arrow in the middle where that particular appliance falls within that range. That's good at a fairly easy way for somebody to determine it's how economical it operates. And I would say that you'd be looking something similar to that would be in the case of an electric vehicle or a plug-in hybrid, would be indicating how many miles per kilowatt hour it gets. Good choice. Good time for helicopters to fly over. Excuse me.
Oh, okay. I was wondering what happened. Well,
I was taking advantage of the weather and before the sunset here and out on the porch.
It is nice out. Yeah, well, thanks, Mark. And then also you can, I believe Lisa was going to reach out to folks who were asking questions because she has some follow-up information too.
Okay, I did have one question too. Why does it take two weeks to be able to put the videos, recordings, make them available? I mean,
oh, you mean of the meetings, of our meetings you're talking about?
Yes.
Adelina?
They do have to go through, we have a special section that will go through and make sure that it fits the right presentation criteria before we can post anything online.
All right, because that seems to be a bit of a congestion point in there for people who happen to miss the meeting, but and try and check it out before the next meeting comes. So anyway,
Well, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
We do have to follow our own policies and make sure everything is good to go for everyone. We do make sure that it's accessible for others. People who are blind or deaf, we need to make sure that they can access that and listen or read or whatever they need to do on their end as well. So I appreciate your feedback, and we will do our best to make sure we get it out sooner than 2 weeks. But we do like to tell people 2 weeks to give us some time in case something comes up.
All right, and have you considered posting some base level educational material on YouTube, which is accessible to pretty much anybody who has a smartphone or tablet, that would, explain the basic purpose of your various programs, not all at once, but break it down into individual segments and have them, you can watch this one, and you're pretty much an expert on what you need to do to take advantage of an EV incentive, be it a car or a bus or whatever. Oh, that was the other one. I knew I had something else. But anyway, to consolidate them into short segments.
Have you seen our YouTube channel?
I'm not sure if I've seen yours.
Okay, I'll find the link. We do have a YouTube channel. I think it's on our website, like in the top bar. But we do have a lot of different kinds of videos, and they might be there that you're thinking of. But we'll look for it and drop the link in the chat.
Also, sir, we do all of these presentations are on YouTube as well. So I can directly send you the link once I get it. Is this Mark McAllister?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe that's where I got my first introduction to this, and when I signed up for it. So then I got notified via email of this one coming up and made sure I set the time aside for it. But yeah.
Awesome. I will make sure that I get you the YouTube link. Once I do, I'll make sure that you get it as well.
So does anybody know who provides the buses for the San Diego Fair grounds? That might be some people to hit up to let them know that they could get rid of those rattle trap diesel buses and get some exposure at the same time by having them available during the fair time.
Oh, the school buses for the fair? Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Right now, the ZESB funding is just for school buses, so it has to be a learning educational agency.
So does that mean it can't have any other purpose?
No, not necessarily. Manny, sorry.
I think they use school buses that are from surrounding school districts, for the month that it's available, or the month that the fair is going on. Is that something that would disqualify them, I guess is the question.
No, not at all. So yes, Heather's correct. So the funding is intended for K through 12 educational, local educational agencies. And if they receive funding for school buses and do obtain and purchase new zero emission school buses, they are welcome to take them if they are available. Obviously, they want to make sure that they're not, hindering the ability to transport students as well.
Right. Well, since it's in July or June, mostly in June, I would expect that would cover a lot of the, you wouldn't have that many people that are needing school buses during June.
Right. I think that'd probably be a great thing to talk over with the organizers and see if they can find the nearest zero emission school buses to kind of showcase them over there as well.
Good. Okay, well, thank you. Thank you all for your presentation.
Sure. Thanks, Mark. Also, San Diego Unified School District does have some zero emission school buses, so they might be interested. All right. So Maggie, do we have any emails?
Yes, we do. We have an email from Cecilia asking, do you mind reminding us how much funding will be available for HVIP and for CORE?
Yeah, so if we're on the core side, we'll have probably just over $65 million in total. 14.3 of that's going to small business, like I mentioned in the presentation, and then a little over $50 million from funding left over from last year. So right now we're sitting at about $65 million for funding for core.
And for HVIP right now, we have about 163 million left. So for the remainder of this year.
Thanks, Todd and Ender. Well, we have no more hands raised.
No more questions in email.
All right. Well, it looks like we've come to conclude this meeting. Thanks everybody again for all of your questions, comments, and collaboration. We appreciate your time and ideas to move forward. So thank you, thank you. We appreciate you coming this evening. I know it's not easy for everybody to take time out of their schedules. Let's talk about moving forward. There are some dates to share with everybody. State budget was adopted will be June 15th, 2024. Evening community meetings will be, the next evening community meeting will be July 16th, as we will be taking a break in June. And then the August date is also listed. And that is about it. Next slide. This is our contact information. Please feel free to reach out to any of the emails provided. But please feel free to email me. My name is Adelina, once again. You can reach the team's email at the Clean Transportation Incentive at arb.ca.gov. And Maggie will drop that email in the chat one more time. All right. And that is it. Good night, everybody. Thank you.